Here we go. From the Daily Mail, RFK Jr. to address the nation about dropping out of the 2024 race in the same city as another presidential candidate. Dude, stop it with the clickbait. I do want to say it's funny when people are like, Tim's making clickbait headlines because he says something like Donald Trump faces prison time or whatever. And I'm like, that's telling you literally what the news is. They're saying Trump's going to go to prison on September 18th or he's going to be sentenced. That's not clickbait. Clickbait is when you would say, Democrats will do this to Donald Trump, sparking outrage. And it's when the headline doesn't give you any information and baits you into clicking on it. That's what rage bait. Now that's something different. Rage bait is when the headline is shocking and makes you angry to get you to click on it. But here's the news. And the update here as to the story of RFK Jr. is why he's endorsing the Republican over the Democrat. Democrats are pissed about this. Let me show you this. David Corn. He says if RFK Jr. endorses, well, I don't know. David Corn is a DC bureau chief, Mother Jones, MSNBC. He says if RFK Jr. endorses Trump, it will demonstrate he doesn't care anything about climate change, clean air and water, women's freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. Just one disingenuous conspiracy theory monger joining forces with another. A sad ending to a once noble brand. It's a cult. Maybe if everywhere you go, you smell crap, you check your boot. RFK Jr. being like, you guys are awful and I'm going to endorse Trump says more about you than it does about Trump. Says more about this country. Moderates are voting for Donald Trump. 2-1 probably. We'll see. This is why I get very offended when these Trump lunatics are like, I've been with Trump since day one and anyone who hasn't, get out. You want to lose? Fine. I don't care. I'd love to see you writhe in agony. These people, look, when remember the woman who dropped to her knees and went, no, because Donald Trump won? I am sustained by your suffering. Like these cringe individuals, these nasty cult people getting comeuppance feels so good. But these Trump diehards, I don't view any differently. If you're literally going to attack people who disagree with you and demand they join your cult, I would love to see you drop to your knees and scream no all the same. That being said, truth is on your side, so you get this one pass. Trump's got his creepy weirdo fans. He does, but most of the people that are voting for Donald Trump and the most prominent supporters of Trump are not the creepy weirdos. So thank heavens, but there are a decent amount. On the Democrat side, they're all weird, creepy cultists. There's not a single supporter of the Democrats who's a rational, calm person, because you can't be. That's why RFK Jr. is intending to endorse Donald Trump. Now, hey, man, don't count your chickens before they hatch. It would be funny if RFK Jr. gets up on stage and he's like, I'm here to let you guys know that I will be dropping out of this race and endorsing Kamala Harris. Screw all of you Trump supporters. I mean, that would be pretty wild, right? Probably not going to happen. The reality is everybody expects RFK to endorse Trump for a variety of reasons. Will Chamberlain lays it out. He says RFK, like most of us, has realized that the Democrat Party is structurally psychopathic and the importance of keeping them out of power trumps longer-term concerns. What can I say, man? They lie on stage. They got a vasectomy bust, dude. I don't see Harry Sisson lining up for his vasectomy. But doesn't he support the party? Come on. Don't you live in this world? Isn't this your ideology? Now, I know, I get it. The argument he'd make is it's a choice. And if somebody doesn't want to have kids, they can choose to do so. I'm fine with that. 100%. I am actually glad that the Democrats pulled up a vasectomy bus. So good. You know, Democrats can then choose to get the snip, not have babies, and then we don't got to worry about them in the future. You know what I'm saying? RFK Jr. understands the corruption, the psychopathic ideology and behaviors. Look at what this David Corn guy says. Women's freedom. Dude, none of these things mean anything. You're just a psychopathic, evil cultist. Women's freedom. Okay, let's play the game. Climate change. You talking about like Barack Obama, who's got waterfront property on Martha's Vineyard? I don't see these Democrats running from the shores. They're buying beachfront property. So I'm supposed to believe them? Dude, look, I can tell you right now. I go outside at night. I don't see a single lightning bug. When I was a kid, granted, I didn't grow up in Appalachia. In Chicago, everywhere by the thousands. And so I wondered about this. Looked it up. Yeah, lightning bug populations are collapsing. Bee populations are collapsing. Windshield phenomenon. It's scary. Insects are very important. They're bird food. And so there's bad things happening with human pollution. I want to believe that we can get a handle on this properly and figure out what's going on. And I do think humans play a serious role in all of this. There's a lot of them. We produce a lot of garbage. Has a big impact. The only problem is, you think I'm going to condemn RFK Jr. when y'all are buying beachfront properties, claiming the water is going to rise? Liars. Maybe if they came out and said something like, insect populations have a noticeable decline, and that's very bad for the food chain, which we rely on. Pollination is, we rely on bees and butterflies and many other insects. In fact, beetles pollinate to a certain degree. Beetles and flies can as well. And this is very important that we get a handle on why these insect populations are collapsing. If they said stuff like that, I'd be like, here, like, what do you think? Instead, they're saying, we have only 3 years until the world ends. And then Greta Thunberg deletes the tweet. Because they're lying. Okay? You want to get a handle on pollution, fine. But the problem is they don't want to go against their big lobbyist donors, so they just pretend. Clean air and water. What are you talking about, clean air and water? You're not talking about anything. You're literally talking about nothing. What policy are you talking about? Women's freedom to get an abortion, but certainly not when it comes to vaccines or anything like that. Certainly not when it comes to playing sports. Bye. Democracy, nonsense statement, and the rule of law. Y'all charge Donald Trump with fake felonies listed as another crime. That's what they put in the charging documents. Another crime. Okay, well, if you had something to charge him on, maybe I'd consider you actually care about the rule of law, but you don't. RFK Jr. understands this. Maybe. I mean, for all we know, whatever he does in Phoenix is not to help Trump. No idea. But it does seem like that will be the case. Independent presidential candidate RFK Jr. will address the nation Friday about his path forward in the 2024 race. He'll speak in Phoenix, Arizona, one day after the DNC wraps up in Chicago. Also in Phoenix that day, former President Trump, whose Kennedy's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, said the Independent is thinking about endorsing. Trump has been courting a Kennedy endorsement for weeks, and the two spoke by phone in the aftermath of the assassination attempt on the ex-president. On the flip side, the Democrats have scorned Kennedy, who had previously been one of their own. They blocked him from running because they wanted to bring on Kamala Harris. They tried to burn him to the ground. They've sued him every step of the way. They've blocked him from appearing on ballots because they're evil. Trump did nothing. There's a lot of people who think that RFK pulls from Trump. And the RNC did not try to block RFK. They just insulted him. That is kind of funny. Trump called him crazy and all that stuff. When Kennedy tried to touch base with the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign, attempting to barter a cabinet gig for an endorsement, a DNC spokesperson publicly said no thanks. Now, I think RFK has denied those reports, saying it's not true. No one has any intention of negotiating with a MAGA-funded fringe candidate who has sought out a job with Donald Trump in exchange for an endorsement. Shannon appeared on an episode of Tim Bilyeu's Impact Theory Tuesday and said she and RFK Jr. have two options. They could stay in the race and hope to get 5% of the vote to officially start a new political party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump. Or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision. Not an easy decision. I would like to ask Joe Rogan what he thinks about this. Joe Rogan said RFK Jr. is the only one to make sense. If RFK Jr. endorses Trump, will Rogan come out and say, yeah, Trump? I wonder what Joe thinks about Kamala. Joe has said in the past that he would vote for Trump over Joe Biden. So this will be interesting. Now, my friends, when we jump over to the national polls, we can see Kennedy is polling in aggregate at 4.7, according to 538. The latest polls are showing Kennedy with around 3%, according to YouGov. And then we have Big Village with him at 5%. And another Big Village has him at 6%. They have a bunch of different polls. CBS has him at 2%. I think it's clear to RFK. The press is waning. His candidacy is not getting the attention that he needs. He needed to hit over 10% to maintain this. Maybe it's time to bow out. I respect it. When we take a look over at the top battlegrounds RCP average, we can see that Trump is maintaining that lead at 0.2%, which is big. And it stayed that way as of August 22nd. Trump is maintaining that lead. Now, here's the best part. As of just today, the betting odds for Donald Trump are now once again higher than Kamala Harris. They say the honeymoon is over. Honeymoon's over. The question will be, however, how will an RFK Jr. endorsement actually help Trump? Well, I can say one thing. There are people who don't like Trump or Kamala, but do like RFK Jr. And RFK has said, this is not the party of my uncle or my dad. Many of these people will go for Trump, in which case I think he's going to see a big boost among independents and moderates. What does it really mean, though? Well, we do have this from ABC News, about a minute and a half long, where they try to give us a breakdown of what it means. Let's hear their assessment.
This morning, our Washington Bureau Chief Political Director Rick Klein. Rick, RFK Jr.'s poll numbers had been dropping. Hard to gauge what impact his getting out, maybe even endorsing Donald Trump, will have.
Yeah, George, I mean, the battleground states look a lot different than they did a few short weeks ago when Donald Trump was leading everywhere. Right now, Kamala Harris is actually up in 6 of the 7 big battleground states, including the Midwestern states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Tim Walz, of course, from Wisconsin, and we are right now in the state of Illinois. But to your point about the national polling, when Robert F. Kennedy was added into the mix in our latest poll, he was polling at just 5%. As John Carl said, he was well into the double digits earlier in the summer. Harris with a 3-point lead with the 3 of them in the race. But when you take him out of the mix, it is not at all clear where his voters necessarily go. When you took that away as an option in our latest poll, you see the largest share of voters actually then went to Kamala Harris. But the biggest number on this screen is 34% that say they would support someone else if Kennedy is out of the mix. Some of them are holding out for Kennedy. So if Kennedy is now telling his supporters to vote for Donald Trump, you might see the lion's share of them go to Donald Trump. Kennedy has had better popularity and favorability numbers among Republicans than among Democrats, and a lot of his views more closely align with Donald Trump. The bottom line, George, is we may see a tight race get even tighter as a result of this.
Okay, Rick, thanks.
The interesting thing there
is this covering the Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
I don't trust their polls. I don't trust their assessment. This is Ipsos Washington Post, a single poll. They say that according to 538, that let's jump back. Here we go. Battleground states polling average shows that Harris is up in all of these battlegrounds. Real Clear Politics, however, does not show those metrics, and they choose different polls to appear. What I do find interesting is, who are people going to vote for? The argument is, we had one member call in, one of the Timcast.com members, become a member at Timcast.com, called in the show and says RFK should not drop out. He polls from Harris more than Trump. And so there's a lot of Democrats that don't want to vote for Kamala Harris who will vote for RFK, even if he can't win. Trump supporters, less likely. And here's the data. Harris, 32%, Trump, 18%. If RFK drops out and endorses Trump, and his voters say, no way, I'm a Democrat, Bobby, you lost me, and they support Harris, Harris gets a bump. RFK dropping out may not be good for Donald Trump. Now, ultimately, though, I do think we don't know for sure. The someone else or wouldn't vote numbers matter a lot here. 18% say they'd vote for Trump. But if RFK says, guys, please, I'm going to drop out and endorse Donald Trump, and I will work in his administration, the real RFK Jr. supporters, they vote Trump. The question for RFK Jr.'s supporters is, are they just voting for him because they don't like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden? The date on this matters the most, August 9th through 13th. So this is, well after Biden. These are people who'd say they'd vote for Harris instead. I wonder if they actually don't care for RFK Jr. They're actually just more anti-Kamala Harris, don't like the Democratic Party, but would rather have a Democrat than Donald Trump. I don't know if I believe it. I don't believe it because they'd basically be saying, I hate Trump so much, I'm going to vote in such a way that it benefits him. It makes no sense. If these people really were considering voting for Kamala Harris, if RFK Jr. drops out, then they're trying to hurt Donald Trump, right? For what reason? It would imply that they're just really dumb, I guess. I don't know. Let me put it this way. Right now, the question is, why are they voting for RFK Jr.? Because they support him? Well, if that's the case, when he drops out and endorses Trump, they'll say, okay, a Trump administration gets us RFK Jr. in a cabinet position. I'll take it. That would be fantastic. The best way to get a cabinet position at RFK Jr. was to run against him and then lend your 5%. If there are people who are just voting for him because they don't like Kamala, but they would rather have Kamala over Trump, that makes no sense because voting for RFK Jr. just helps Trump. It just doesn't make any sense. I think the endorsement will greatly benefit Donald Trump, and I believe it is the appropriate and correct move. I don't trust the polls. I would say this. I don't trust 538. You take a look at Real Clear Politics, and they'll show you right away how they generate their aggregates and what polls they allow. And 538 excludes certain pollsters. Why would you do that? Over at Real Clear Politics in the general election, we can see that Kamala Harris is up 1.5 points. Rasmussen, however, has Trump up 4 points. Fox News has Trump up 1, and CNBC has Trump up 2. Everybody else, Pew Research, Emerson, ABC, and the latest CBS has Harris up. I don't know. I think it's all garbled nonsense. I think the data that we're getting is garbled nonsense, and we have no idea what to expect. With that in mind, the only thing that I think makes sense is RFK Jr. dropping out and endorsing Trump. That's tangible. That is a prominent third-party candidate saying, guys, vote for Trump and I'll be there. So his supporters will do it. Now, some people think RFK is too crazy. Look, man, I want to win. Okay? Winning means sometimes you align yourself with people you don't like. The United States, the Western, the Allies teamed up with the Soviet Union, with communists to stop the Nazis, and led to a lot of problems afterwards, the Cold War. But sometimes you compromise. You do. Right now, we have a crackpot, cultist Democrat Party. As Will Chamberlain accurately points out, as I stated earlier, they have become structurally psychopathic. They offer up nothing. They want weird porn books for kids in schools. They're overtly racist and sexist, putting men and women in sports. They can't win. We can't allow it. And so RFK Jr. may have some wackaloon lefty ideas. Let's restructure this country. How about this? When RFK Jr. joins the Trump administration, and Tulsi Gabbard does as well, and everyone goes, you got these lefties, fine. The next election we have in 2028 will be RFK versus Trump. That's it. How would that feel? Imagine if the actual political debate in this country was both the Democratic candidate and the Republican saying, no one wants these books in schools. We won't allow it. We'd all be like, that's good. Nobody wants unfettered abortion to the point of birth. That's gone. We'd say, oh, okay, we're getting somewhere. And then they were like, now, as for tax policy, I'd be like, yes, take me home, country roads. Bring us back to the time when we were arguing over whether we're going to tax one thing or tax another thing or cut one tax or not another tax. Make the arguments simple. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants unfettered abortion. Nobody wants these kids. If that was the debate, I think we're good. I can go and ride off my van into the sunset and park it down by the river. But right now what we're dealing with is a Democratic Party that is figuratively or maybe even literally demonic. I mean, the putting the weird porn in schools is terrifying. Abuse, it's enticing a minor. This stuff's illegal. But they've stopped enforcing the law. You've got these drag shows that bring children on, and they have adult men handing dollar bills to children. How about this? Someone like RFK Jr. can call Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day, and that can be the argument, but everybody agrees you keep the kids out of it, and that restructures and recenters where the country's middle ground is. There's that meme posted by Elon Musk. It was made by Colin Wright, where it shows the left and the right, but then as the left moves further and further, the person who's on the left eventually finds themselves in the middle and then on the right themselves. How about we pull that whole thing back and we restore an actual left-right balance in this country? The truth is, my friends, this country actually is conservative by today's standards, period. And the media lies to prop up woke garbled nonsense. Money talks and BS walks. They canceled The Acolyte because of it. Lesbian Space Witches does not sell movie tickets. They try, and it does not work. And the franchise is burned to the ground. You know, I want to tell you this. They say, get woke, go broke. And these lefties are like, that's not true. That's not true. And I just say to them, guys, have you looked at the billion-dollar Disney losses as they've tried to play this game? I mean, the MCU is burning down, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What did it start with? Iron Man, the Hulk, but, whatever. Then you get Captain America and Thor, and it's white dude, white dude, white dude, white dude. I'm not saying movies should always just be white dudes, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying they start off with this hero's journey. The Hulk we can pull out. The big three were Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. People didn't like the Thor movies as much, but they made a lot of money. Guardians of the Galaxy, what was the diversity there? A white guy, a tree, a raccoon, and a green lady? Come on. These movies were good. When they started shifting the focus and doing the weird woke stuff, Black Panther, I liked Black Panther, but they called it diverse. This is where things started to break down. Captain Marvel, total breakdown. The Captain Marvel movies have been abysmal. They've been abominations. They've lost money. This country does not want these things. The machine needs to stop. We need to stop it. How do we do it? RFK represents many on the left side who don't like Donald Trump, the liberal side, but it recenters the argument. It gets rid of a lot of that far left garbled trash. I'm for it. So we'll see. I mean, tomorrow's the big day. Someone jokingly said, what if Trump drops out to endorse RFK? It's like, haha, yeah, that'd be funny. They're both in Phoenix. I think it's very obvious what's about to happen. Trump's going to give RFK Jr. a cabinet position. I think it's fantastic. And we are going to get a great new administration under Donald Trump's second term. I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Become a member at timcast.com to support our work. Thanks for hanging out. Next segment will be at 4 p.m. and we'll see you all then.